have a treat for us tonight. And we have Mr. Robert T. Gardner Jr., who's joining us tonight. And Robert, he's an experienced human resource professional, licensed social worker. He's an author, and he's a relationship change agent who is ahead of his time. He believes that all good things work from the inside out, and that would include us as human beings. As we scroll down further, without doing too much over talking, we want to allow this time for Mr. Robert to give us a little bit more detail about himself, with us emphasizing on the relationship readiness, as well as how we're going to discuss ridding or diminishing some of this domestic violence. So without further ado, we have Mr. Robert Gardner.
Thank you very much, Lisa. How you doing?
Fine, and yourself?
I'm good. I want to thank you also for, inviting me on to your live. And so I appreciate that. And so, just before I go into, my hypothesis of relationship readiness, I think it's important that, I tell you, the audience about how I got here, because, in one way or another, everybody's a relationship expert, but relationships are, you need to know what you need to know. And so, and the way I got here is basically, I'm from Harlem, USA, and, just growing up and becoming a teenager, I'm just giving you a little backdrop of what I used to see and didn't understand. And now I'm seeing the same thing, but I understand what it is. Okay? You feel me? So anyway, just dating as a young adult, I was always attracted to, the PYT, the pretty young things. And what I noticed, maybe in between, some was good and nice, but for the most part, I met a lot of attractive girls who didn't feel good about themselves. Either they were angry or had low self-esteem or just very quiet and didn't communicate well. So I spent a lot of time, trying to inspire these young ladies to go to school, get your education, get your college degree, those kind of things. But the behaviors were always, dysfunctional, not talking, never feeling good, low self-esteem. But I'm trying to love on all of these girls, because they're pretty, and that's what I was doing at the time. So ultimately, my bad choices, if you will, led me to make the ultimate bad choice, was marry another young lady who was, intelligent and pretty face, but she too had some issues. Didn't communicate, shut down, for little or no reasons. And most of the time I didn't even know why she shut down. But, just to keep the story moving, we were both getting older, we wanted a family, so we got married. And I never forget the day the day of my marriage, of the wedding, the photographer asked me how I felt. And I said, I feel like I'm about to be executed. And that was because I knew I was making a bad choice, but I felt like I had to go through with it, because here I'm at the church and family and friends and the whole thing, we all there. And I didn't want to hurt her, because I told my friend I'm about to marry a girl that I don't love. And he was like, what? He's like, man, we need to go, just go in the bar and throw back a few and you tell her later. So I was basically saying, I can't do that. I don't want to hurt her. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to make it work. If it don't work, we'll get divorced. And so it was, it didn't work. I got divorced, and then I spent a decade in family court fighting to see my daughter and get visitation because, you know, he brought a whole lot of vindictiveness, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that we, you know, we didn't have to go through. But what I've learned is these issues that we have, they are real. And so that experience spending, and I'm not lying, I spent almost a decade in family court, you know, fighting back and forth to see my daughter and for different things. And so around 2005, I was just, you know, I was always right, but I would lose all the time, you know, in family court. Family court is not a place to go to settle your issues. So at any rate, it's 2005, you know, I'm crying, I'm cursing, I'm mad at her, mad at the courts, you know, I'm just having a meltdown. And so I'm, you know, while I'm in the car, I'm saying to myself, look at you, look at the power that you are giving this person over your life, because she's not even in the car with you and you're yelling, screaming and cursing. And so then I said to myself, I said, Rob, you're gonna have to forgive her. You're gonna have to let this go. I said, wow, I'm talking to myself now, you know, I said, wow, I can let this go. I don't know if I can forgive her. And I'm driving, it's raining, the typical scenario when you're going through something, pouring down, raining, I'm driving the whole thing. So anyway, I'm going through forgiving and letting go. And so when I got to my destination, I said, you know, I'm going to let this go. But if I'm really going to let this go, I have to forgive her. So I came to terms with that and understanding that forgiving her, you know, wasn't for her. It was for her, but it was really for me, so I could stop looking back. And the moment that I decided to let go of all the stuff I had as a result of that experience, the idea to write my first book was born. You know, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna write a book because I wanted to educate people and tell them about relationships so that they don't make the same mistakes that I did. But it didn't stop there because see, I didn't just want to write a book, you know, say this happened to me, this happened to me. No, I wanted to write a book that, you know, could be like an instrument of change, you know, because I wrote the book and there's exercises in there and there's things that the reader can do to take a look at themselves, because see, we all have issues, you know, we all have issues, you know, and I don't care what your status is in life, whether you're white, black, rich, poor, we are all born into families that, you know, that's where our issues come from. Either we are neglected, some of us get touched inappropriately, some of us get abandoned, you know, all of these things that, you know, that happen in our childhood that are not consistent with love and nurturing, they play out, they turn into, you know, lack of trust, feeling insecure, you know, angry, you know, based on whatever, you know, our particular life experiences have been in our childhood. And so understanding that now as I do, because I also went back to school to get a second master's degree, I said, well, if I'm going to write books about human behavior, I need to get some credentials and learn, you know, what I need to know about human behavior so that I can really speak on relationships. So in that process, I came up with this idea or notion, at this point now it's a hypothesis, that we have to be ready for relationships, you know, as human beings. And when you think about it, I mean, did you ever think that you might have to be ready for a relationship other than, you know, getting your hair did and your nails done and getting some extra long lashes? I mean, my God, what else do you have to do, right? Wrong. Because you see, what happens is, you know, we all look good. You know, we look good. But inside, we're not feeling good. And so, you know, while we're looking good and we're not feeling good, to that I'll say, I dated I had my share of like attractive girls or pretty young ladies that turned out to be pretty ugly. Not for anything other than, they weren't feeling good about themselves. And if you don't feel good about you, you're not going to be able to be good to me. I'm not speaking like I'm perfect in all of that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm a good man. You understand? I'm not a liar. I'm honest. I'm truthful. But whatever I am, somebody may find some faults in me. So I'm not trying to come across as if I'm perfect. What I'm talking about is what I've learned from my experiences in relationships and how I evolved into, becoming a relationship change agent. Because one of the main things that inspired me or drives my my energy on this has to do with domestic violence, because I was in an abusive relationship emotionally, and there were times when, she would assault me physically, and I would, put my arms around her to stop her from hitting me, but I never hit her, because I was one of them cats where my mother told me, you're not supposed to hit girls. And so I've been getting my butt kicked ever since, you know what I'm saying? So, but at any rate, I just, now I'm on the other side, and in that, in that marriage, and I saw just a lot of issues, but on a more extreme level, with, a lot of vindictiveness. And I mean, sometimes there's just straight evil. And that attracted my interest to learning more about, like, how could you be like this and be married? You understand? So when I say that we need to be relationship ready, what I'm saying is we need to first understand that we all have issues, and our issues are different, but whatever our issues are, we need to start looking, I don't want to say need to, but I'm going to say I would suggest that we start looking inside and wonder, why do I, feel so insecure? Or, why am I still mad at my uncle, who may have done something to me 20 years ago, when there's nothing I can do about that, because it happened already. And as bad as it is, I'm still here, so I can go forward. We need to start forgiving and letting go, because as I said, we all have stuff. Some of us have more stuff than others. But when we enter into adult relationships with our stuff, that leads to dysfunctional relationships, abusive relationships. And so what I say is that we have to, be relationship ready. Now I'm going to stop there. I don't know if you have any questions or something you might want to ask me. I just wanted to give you an idea of what the journey was like, and, why I do what I do, and so on and so forth.
So I'm glad you with your opening up and discussing this and giving us knowledge and educating us on this. So sometimes, a lot of the times, most people, male and female, want to go in relationships, and they're looking for somebody who's going to save them,
Right.
or pull them out of something. Like, if I get this man, or I get this woman, I know I'll be happy. I just got to have somebody, And so can you elaborate on people who, or give some insight to people who may be in those seasons where they're lonely, they're alone, but they haven't yet dealt with themselves yet? I call it, you got to heal you first.
Exactly. Well, that's, it all leads back to you. Because as you said when you read my bio, that I believe that that most good things work best from the inside out. And that would include us as humans. So when we're dealing with the inside, one of the biggest things that we you know, many of us have, we don't feel good about ourselves. We don't trust other people. Um, and so with regard to a person who is like lonely and feels like somebody else could, make them happy, that could not be any further from the truth, because if you have this void in your life where you're not happy, then there's no way another person could make you happy. That, like, your happiness is your responsibility, period. Now, another person can enhance your relationship, but they cannot uh give you what you really need. And on that note, I used to try to save, matter of fact, I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of the pretty girls that I dated, they felt lonely and empty and didn't even realize, their attractiveness. As I say to my wife, I say, women, y'all have the power, but what y'all don't realize, and you give it to the men who don't know what the hell to do with it. That vaginal canal, that is the most powerful. I'm gonna call it a weapon for lack of a better word, but that's the vagina is the most powerful thing in the world. When you think about it, half the men in prison are in prison because of women. Half the men dead are dead because of a woman. And that, I'm not saying that to make women bad. What I'm saying is women have the power. And so when you think about something like domestic violence, I mean, first you have to be feeling good enough about yourself and have the courage to say, when you meet a guy, you like, listen, Taekwon, I think you're cute and all that, but I'm not into physical violence. If you put your hands on me in an unloving way, this is over. Not to mention that I might fight back, and you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you see, because you have the power, you can put that out there right in the beginning. Listen, I'm not into domestic violence. I think you're cute and all that, but I wasn't raised that way. I'm not into that. And it's a no-go. I will dead this relationship. So, and another thing, because what I'm talking about right now, let me answer the question that you presented about the person who doesn't feel good. You have to build yourself up. And the first thing you do is improve your self-esteem. There's nothing or no one more important to you, and you have to believe that and make that, like your responsibility. Improve your self-esteem. You can get a sheet of paper and write, down 5 or 10 things that you're good at and 5 or 10 things that you're not so good at. So by looking at your strengths, and you call them strengths and weaknesses, by looking at your strengths, that'll serve as a reminder, hey, I am good at this. I can do this. And there are no right or wrong answers to that. Okay. So you understand your strengths so that you can start to feed yourself the goodness about you. Then when you look at your weaknesses, then you might say, you know what? You find 2 ways to turn those weaknesses into strengths. And so that becomes like your mental exercise. You start affirming yourself on a daily basis. I can do anything. I am beautiful. I am intelligent. Because see, all of this stuff is in our mind. But what happens to us is that we work from our emotion. And so when our emotions tell us, oh, well, he's not gonna like me, or they don't like me, well, then they ain't gonna like you. But when you tell yourself, hey, I was better than I was yesterday, I lost 2 pounds, working on my college degree, or whatever you're doing. You're like you're feeding yourself. And so then when you're not accepted, or he don't like you or she don't like you can fall back on yourself because that's all you have. You understand? So you have to start believing in you. Build your self-esteem. That's what you do. It's like that's working from the inside out. Okay. So once you build your self-esteem, then you'll increase your self-worth. Then that guy or that person or that woman that you think will make your life complete, you're finding that, hey, I'm starting to feel better because I feel better about myself. And so then you won't just be looking for any guy to fill the void, because any guy can fill that void. Now you'll be looking for somebody that feels good like you. You understand? And so it starts with building your self-esteem, learning to let go of the shit you're mad about, excuse my language, but that's what it is. Learn to let go of this stuff you've been holding on for 10, 15 years, okay? Learn to forgive. I told you I forgave. She wasn't, eventually I told her, but I'm saying mentally, I had to do that for myself. And the minute I did, as I said, the idea to write my first book was born. So what happened is I got rid of a whole decade of pain and opened up some room on the hard drive in my brain. And the idea to write my first book was born. You feel me?
I do, and I gotta, as we plug a little deeper in, what I know, and I can only come from a more of a aspect when I talk to different people, just in general. What I realize is that not just in an intimate relationship, this relationship readiness, from how I'm perceiving it, is this is beneficial in our relationships. In order for friendship to work, or workship to work, or intimate relationship, a relationship with your kids, relationship with your parents. And you spoke about the forgiveness part. What is your message to those who have become mentally victimized? That they're just mentally victimized, that no matter what happens in the day, somebody is out to get them. No matter what happens right here, it appears to be somebody's attacking them. No matter what's going on right here, somebody's not doing right by her. No matter what it is, it's always an issue somewhere else. When maybe more people need to take your advice and start working from right here, what would be your message to those people?
All right, I'm going to answer that in 1 second, but I wanted to also add that relationship readiness is not only something that, helps us or empowers us in relationships with others, but relationship readiness is also about having a good relationship with yourself. See, being lonely means that, that you don't know how to be with yourself. Like, I remember back in the day, people say, "Are you home alone? Or you feel lonely?" I say, "No, I'm home alone, but I'm not lonely." You understand? So I just wanted to point out that relationship readiness also has to do with you learning how to have a good relationship with yourself. And so that's why you forgive, Uncle Bill and Aunt, Millie, for whatever they did or didn't do. That's why, how you forgive the coach that didn't let you, run track, the relay that you were the best on the team. You understand? You got to get all of that stuff out so that you can start seeing your own value. Because, see, we were all born with a God-given talent. And you can't see that talent when it's all covered up. I mean, that's that light. The song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine." That's the God-given talent. But for many of us, our light is covered by the issues that we have endured. And so we got to get that stuff off of our light so that we can start to shine and do and be what we were born to be, born to do. Now, with regard to that person that you're talking about, that it's never their fault, it's always somebody, essentially that's real easy. But you know, I think part of the problem is that this person may have, or these people may have been living like that for so long that, you know, is that you can't undo that overnight. And this is really about, see, what I'm talking about, like with relationship readiness, like just say if there was other people on the call and they was like, oh, you know, he don't know what he's talking about, and they wanted to argue with me. I don't argue about this because you may not understand it today, but you will be back, because life will show you that, hey, there's something going on, because you'll hear other people talking about, yeah, she got issues, or he needs to deal with himself. So when I'm talking about everybody's not going to, you know, jump on board, and I'm okay with that, because I know that this is the message. You need to be relationship ready. Now, to get back to this person, essentially, as I just said, it's you know, that they didn't become like that overnight. So it would take a lot to undo that, but it would be up to that individual. You cannot tell, you know, you can't tell grown people what to do. You know, I might be lethal. When are you gonna stop smoking? Lethal, stop smoking. So you're not gonna stop smoking until one day you look in the mirror and you're blowing. You're like, what the hell am I blowing this cigarette smoke? I'm tired of it. That's when you're gonna stop. So my point is that to be relationship ready, or to undo what you're talking about in terms of that personality type, you have to want to do that. You have to first realize, damn, why do I never accept responsibility? Why am I never accountable? Why do I always blame other people for what happens to me when I know damn well, you know, it's my fault? So you have to have like your own kind of, you know, you have to look inside. You have to want, like, you know, like I do therapy. And so in working with a person, I would be really pretty much saying these same things. But the point is, for somebody to do that on their own, they have to begin to see that people are tired of them, number one, always blaming somebody, not accepting responsibility, and they're making so many mistakes and disappointing so many people, and have, you know, evolved into probably becoming totally unreliable. So they have to begin to say that they want something, they want to do this differently, and start not being afraid to you know, accept responsibility. You know how people, you say, I say, Letha, you did that. You're like, I didn't do that. You know damn well you did it, but because you just don't want to look wrong for whatever reason, it's so much easier to say, yeah, I did it. The argument will be over. You know, if I said, Letha, you know, you burnt my toast, and you're like, no, I didn't burn your toast. And I'm like, well, I told you I don't like my toast looking like this. It could be over if you said, you know what, babe, you know what, Rob, I burnt the toast and I wasn't paying attention. You know, it won't happen again. What else am I going to say? It's so much easier to accept responsibility. You feel better. You grow as a person. You're more accountable. The epitome of the kind of person you're talking about is Donald Trump. You saw how, like, with him, nothing was ever his fault. Everybody was to blame. He never told the truth. That's like, it's hard to undo that, but that's how you undo it. When you start to recognize that, you know, people are tired of you, you're messing up, you're unreliable, nobody trusts you, nobody want to be around you, then you want to bring about that change.
Okay, so what are three major steps people could do
To do as far as what is concerned?
to just focus on, we got forgiveness for one, for the relationship readiness. What are two other major steps people could do?
Well, I think really I think the key to life really is to have good self-esteem.
Mhm.
That would be the number one thing. When you
Okay.
start to improve your self-esteem, you will increase your self-worth. You will feel better about yourself. You'll see, you'll see the world differently. Everybody, you'll see that everybody's not against you. And then it's like, so what if they are? I'm telling the truth, I'm doing the right thing. And so self-esteem to me is like, you know, the oil that we put in our car. If you run out of oil, your engine is going to, you're going to have engine trouble. And so many of us have engine trouble because our self-esteem is low. We don't feel good. We don't trust. We, you know, we're insecure. You know, it just causes us not to shine. So self-esteem is the number one thing I think that a person can do to get their life and their vision and how they feel about themselves on track. Um, uh, we talked about forgiveness.
Mhm.
Um, we talked about letting go.
Mhm.
Another thing is to understand that is that we need to learn how to go through our feelings. You know how this whole thing about men, a real man don't cry. You know that's like the biggest crock of junk. Men need to cry because I mean that's why we have the whole tear well, because life will force you to cry. You lose your job, you break up with a loved one, people die. You know what I'm saying. Your team lose the Super Bowl. um Crying is the thing that I remember, when I was young and I dated all these pretty girls, some of them used to dump me because, I was too nice. My friends used to say, yo, Rob, you too nice, man. The girls don't like nice guys. You got a dog the honeys. So, but that wasn't my style. I figured it out. I figured out that you just can't be so available, because you can't give up. I remember I used to be dating a girl, and we'd be talking, a couple of months. I'd be like, I love you. Like, hello? Hello? That'd be the end of that call and that relationship. So I forgot what you asked me actually. I'm talking to someone.
It's okay. So we got the letting go, we got the forgiveness as to three things that people can do
Oh,
as they
okay, right.
prepare. Yeah. So we got the forgiveness, we got
All
letting
right.
go.
I got it now. Thank you. Thank you. What's really important is that, as I was saying, like when we're brokenhearted or something happens, that we need to learn how to cry and you know, go through that experience, that emotion, sit in your feelings. You ever been around people who, a loved one dies and then, people say, well, he didn't mourn properly when his mother died, or she didn't mourn properly. That's real. To cry, to get that out, you know, a good cry, you'll be amazed with how good you feel after a good cry and sitting in your feelings. The next thing that we need to do, or I would suggest we do, is understand that your feelings and your thoughts are like separate. And what I mean by that is we need to learn how to speak to our feelings, because see, we can control our emotions, but we don't speak to our feelings. So our emotions, like an emotional situation, will override how you think. But just
Mhm.
because the emotions are strong at the time does not mean that you can't stop to think. And so what I'm saying is we have to understand that we can speak to our feelings. And when we speak to our feelings, we learn how to become more self-aware. We understand, what makes us upset. And so, being that I understand what makes me upset, and he said that or she did that again, then now I'm talking to my feelings, and I'm controlling how I feel, as opposed to letting the circumstance control how I feel. So what I'm talking about now is something called emotional intelligence. And that means to exactly what it says. Become more intelligent with your emotions. And that means to think. Stop. If we stopped and thought about half the stuff we did, the stuff we did wouldn't happen, or we wouldn't get, the poor outcomes. Like, just say, your guy cheats on you. Your guy cheats on you. And so then, you catch him in the act and whole thing. Then you go and bust out his car windows and slice his tires. But now you in jail. You know what I'm saying? He lost his job. And y'all didn't like each other anyway. But just because that happened to you, you might be wishing that you would have did it to him. You know what I'm saying? You go bust out his windows, and it's like, for what? Now you tied up with him even longer in court and paying and not wanting to see him. So what I'm really saying is, if we learn how to think more and feel less. And what I mean by that is, yes, your feelings are your feelings. You feel at funerals, at weddings, you feel on your birthday, you feel when you're on a new date. But when something happens, it's not the time to feel, that's the time to think, so that you can, keep things in perspective. Because nothing, at least I've learned, and I believe that nothing is as bad as it seems. Sometimes you get papers in the mail, you got to go to court. You're like, what? Again? And then you read it and they be like, we just need your signature, you forgot to sign the paper. You're like, oh, okay, I'm there. So I think thinking more, learning how to think more and feel less, so that we can make better decisions, control how we feel, control what we say. We ain't got to shoot everybody we disagree with. I mean, you're going to shoot me because, I like this Pittsburgh Steelers, and they beat your team. You know what I mean? It's like ridiculous. So I think if we learn to think more and feel less, that's a good prescription, or, way to enhance your lifestyle.
So what I get, and I love it, as we become better versions of ourselves and preparing ourselves and get better genuinely. We need to work on that forgiveness. We need to start letting things go. And I love all of it. But
can I say this too? I forgot to say, I don't mean to interrupt. But one thing we really have to do is to forgive ourselves.
Ourselves.
Because
we got to forgive ourselves. Okay.
Because we've all made some real, I'm just gonna call it some stupid mistakes that you probably would be embarrassed.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you'd be embarrassed to even, try to remember that I did that for him. I did that to her. Oh my God. So none of us are, like the Bible says, let he, who has not sinned cast the first stone. Well, let he or she who does not have to forgive themselves, drink a glass of water. We all need to forgive ourselves. Okay. And in my situation that I just described earlier about my first marriage, I forgave myself because I saw what it was, and I went ahead with it anyway. That was some boneheaded crap on my part. I'm from New York. I should know better. You know what I'm saying? But so I had to forgive myself. So throw in there also include forgiving yourself. That is okay. We make mistakes. Forgive yourself. Bury that. Throw it out with the trash so that you can free yourself. And I think it's important too, just to understand that happiness is a choice. You have to choose happiness. It doesn't, I might get you iPhone 19 tomorrow, and you're gonna be so happy. Rob, you're just so fantastic. You just met me and you gave me the iPhone 19. So what you gonna do between, after you figure the phone out and got all the features down, what you gonna do between the iPhone 19 and iPhone 20? You gonna be just sitting there mad until you get the iPhone 20? So we have to do work to stay happy. We have to find things to remember that make us feel good, or just understand the blessing of life and how you could be, a car could jump the curb. These days a bullet could come through your window in your own house and you'll be dead.
Mhm.
So, so the thing is that understanding that happiness is a choice. And all of this, see what it is we go work out, we go to the gym and I worked out, but we don't work out emotionally. We don't,
Mhm.
we don't exercise, we don't try to strengthen our self-esteem. And that's the power we need. I'm sure
Mhm.
you've heard that term, only the strong survive.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
they're not talking about Mike Tyson and all his muscles. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They're talking about people who are resilient. You
Mhm.
understand? People who know how to let go. People
Mhm.
who know how to forgive. You have to get better with this every day. So just like you go work out, sometimes you need to work in. Well, not
Mhm.
sometimes, all the time. Affirm yourself. Doggone it, I'm good. I failed that test yesterday, but I'm intelligent. That test, I'm just gonna work hard and I'm gonna pass that test. So yes, go work out. But we also we need to be physically fit and emotionally fit.
Mhm. Mhm. So I like the fact that you reminded us with the forgiveness, it's not just where we forgive the other party, we need to first forgive ourselves.
Exactly.
And and so in forgiving, we need to understand that we need to just forgive. We need to forgive ourselves, forgive the other party, letting go. And what I get from letting go is we got to stop dwelling.
Exactly.
I realize people focus more on their problems.
Well, can I stop you right there? Because I'm
You
glad you
can.
said that. I'm glad you said that. You know why? Because um it has been like just my style, if you will, for lack of a better word, that when I have problems, I focus on the solution. Because see, I
Mhm.
don't like to have problems because
Mhm.
problems weigh you down,
Mhm.
problems worry you,
Mhm.
problems can make you nervous, problems make you unprepared, and they just don't make you feel good. So
Mhm.
so when I have problems, I think of the solution, not the problem. Because I want that problem to go away just as fast as it came. So if
Mhm.
we can shift our thinking,
Mhm.
stop focusing on the problem,
Mhm.
you know, let me just say this. Lots of times you hear people say, "Oh man, I'm going through a lot of woo woo." I'm going through it.
Mhm.
Many times when we going through stuff, it's because we made bad choices. And so now
Mhm.
the result, the consequence of those bad choices are now coming home to roost. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, stuff happens. We lose our jobs, we break up, we get illness, but that's not going through something. When you're going through stuff and it's just constantly stuff, you
Mhm.
making bad choices too. Now, I don't
Mhm.
want to give that a blanket label, but I'm saying
Mhm.
that's what's happening. Your girlfriend will be like, "Oh, girl, I'm going through some stuff." Ask her what she did, that led to her going through some stuff. And you might learn about some bad choices that are now, catching up.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's good. That's good insight because what we do know is even I tell people, most of your outcome is linked to choices, and we don't people don't want to focus on their choices. I just want to focus on what you need to do differently to help me out.
Mhm, mhm.
And so, but I do appreciate the forgiveness, forgive yourself, forgive others, letting go, not dwelling, And we got to stop focusing so much on these problems and focus on these solutions. Talk less about the problem and talk more about what you're going to do to change it.
The solution is there if you look for it.
Mhm.
It's there.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know?
And then you mentioned think more and feel less.
Exactly.
And I think that's very important. I when I tell you that statement right there is a very strong statement. I'm down with the forgiveness. I'm all for it. I've been one of them people. Look in the mirror. You got to work on yourself. Okay, you can't focus on this stuff. But when I tell you that that the fact that you are reminding us, we got to let some of this stuff go, because when you're dwelling, you know, I asked the young lady earlier, if you focus on everything negative, what are you getting done? Nothing. You can't get nothing done like that. Your mind shuts your body down.
Well, see, part of that, what happens too, is that when you come up in that in your life, if you're always, if your home life was turbulent and a lot of stuff, it's this is what I'm talking about being relationship ready, because you see what happens is the seeds for this stuff is planted just indirectly. Do you know that, like, as an infant, this is not Robert Gardner, I'm talking about scientific research says, like with infants, if you don't feed your infant baby a bottle consistently, regularly, where that boy or girl knows that bottle's coming, boom, but if I'm like, and that bottle's not here, or you're not changing it, or you don't change that diaper, consistently, what happens is the seeds for, trust are laid right then and there, because now, I saw this person, they don't know it's their mother yet, but the person that I'm relying on, to change my blanket, I saw her yesterday, but she's not here today with my dry diaper or my warm bottle. So what happens is, those things, now you're in a scenario where you don't know when your bottle is coming. You don't know when your Pampers trusted. And that goes with you. That goes with you. Just like if you're being fed consistently and that Pampers getting changed and you're getting the hugs and nurturing, all of that feeds into you being and feeling more secure, being capable of trusting. So these things are, so when you're talking about a person who just, where everything is negative, and that has a lot to do with how we were raised or how they were raised, what they came up in, and that's all they know. And it's sad to say, but you can't help these people. And I don't mean these people like they are beneath us. I'm just using that because that's just proper English, if you will. You cannot help them, because it's like you have to see that this is a problem for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Do you have? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. With you being as versed and knowledgeable as you truly are, and you still have to live your life and still keep yourself focused mentally. What is it like? Because I know people reach out to you, and I know people talk to you, and I know people probably want to pick your brain. Do you ever feel? Do you ever run into moments where it may have been vice versa, where you may have needed to get some stuff out, and then all of a sudden people just couldn't be bothered with you?
No, I don't really. Well, I do that's a good question. I do a lot of my kind of reconciliation on my own, because
Okay.
I done been there. My mother died when I was 9. My sister overdosed on heroin when I was 12. We all have our stuff. I've been married, I've been through, I told you my scenario.
Mhm.
So I've learned how to do the things that I've been talking about. I do those things. And
Okay.
in addition, when it becomes too much for me, then I go to my wife, or she might see where I'm at, and then she'll be like, so what is it? And so then she brings me back. Because I'm not perfect, but but I am at the point where that I understand about, happiness is a choice. So I have my moments, but that's when I say, hey, hey, man, I'm speaking to my feelings now. Like, hey, come on now. They say, idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Workshop.
Yeah.
Yes, it
So,
is.
so when the devil, I don't believe in the devil, but I'm just using the phrase. So when the devil come knocking, that's when I'm like, nah, there's nobody home. And so between like my own self kind of you know, renewal, if you will, then my wife is bigger, because we're both relationship ready, if you will. Like
Okay.
when I got out of that first marriage, I said to myself that I'm not going to date another young lady with low self-esteem or anger issues or things like that. No disrespect to the pretty, angry, low self-esteem girls and all that. But what I'm
Right.
saying is that is, I can't do anything with that. I can't help them. And I don't mean that like I'm not being condescending. What
Right. Right.
is that because I tried that. Believe me, I've tried it. It does not work. So people they have to see that, hey, why do I feel like this? And when you see that you may have some emotional deficits, that's when
Mm-hmm.
you'll Google
Mm-hmm.
it, you'll
Mm-hmm.
call me, or you'll call somebody else, or you'll
Mm-hmm.
find a good book to read. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? And you'll take the steps to heal from the inside out.
I like a few moments ago you mentioned you would get calls and people would say, hey, you at home alone, you lonely? And you would say, I'm home alone, but I'm not lonely.
Right.
And what I gather with that is you're reminding us, we have to learn to spend time with ourselves first.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
People
know,
don't. People
and
don't
I say
want
this
to know.
has been a phrase I've been using with people for a minute. You cannot learn how to be entwined on any level if you're not able to spend time with yourself first. And so I do like the fact that you did acknowledge that, because sometimes we want to dance around the fact that you need to be able to spend time by yourself.
Mhm.
You need to be able to do things without always another human being there. You don't have to always, have an extra body there, or have somebody, it's good to have people in reach, don't get me wrong. But I think that we need those constant reminders that how can I learn to give it to another person if I'm not giving it to myself? Why am I waiting on somebody to come in and do for me and fill up my cup,
Mhm.
and I'm not filling myself up? I'm running on E. And if I'm on E, what am I giving to the next person?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I do like that. As we get ready to wrap up, what is one final message you would have for everybody?
One final message. Okay, that's a good question. Um, I might have more than one final message, but
Okay.
I just have this line where I heard it the other day, that life is good even when it ain't. But um, my final message would be just to understand that happiness is a choice, and you have to work at it. You have to remind yourself of good things, but you have to want this. So you can lead a life of being angry and unhappy and mad at Uncle Sam for what happened 15 years ago, but Uncle Sam is dead now. you know,
Mhm.
and you're never going to be able to resolve that issue.
Mhm.
Let it go. I know some stuff is hard, but most of all, it's hard because we say it's hard.
That's
So,
right.
so, so if you say it's hard, it's going to be hard. But I
Mhm.
think my final message would be is to, and I say this with my children, is stop using the word can't. I have a saying that, you know, we don't say can't, we say can, because you can do anything. All you have to do is try. So I
Mhm.
think if we start to I just get that word can't out of your vocabulary. Because
Mhm.
when you keep saying I can, I can, I can't, then you begin to believe that you can. You just become a big can't.
And then you won't.
And then you won't. Let me just tell you something in closing. This is the choices we make, right? Can you see that?
Mhm. Mhm.
This is the book that I wrote that I wanted to help people, right? Find better relationships. This is Access Denied. This book is what is about when you break up and then one parent, usually the mother, uses the child as a weapon. And so the women, what I want to say is stop using the child as a weapon because you don't hurt him, you hurt them. If you really want to hurt the guy, make him take care of them kids. You know what I'm saying? You get him out the club, you get him away from the basketball game if he got to spend time with his kids. And then you can reduce the new girlfriend from coming around. And this last book is called Light Up Your Life. And it basically says that we are all born with a special God-given talent. And unfortunately, because of the issues, because of our past, our family lives, you know, that light, that gift is often covered up. And this book shows you how to get the stuff off of your light so that your light can shine and then you can do and be where you were born to be. And so I know I said a lot. Hopefully I touched somebody.
You touched a few people from what I'm seeing. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
So how are people able to get your books?
Okay.
How what are your platforms? We need to put that out there because people need to know.
Okay, well, you can definitely check my website out. It's called relationshipreadiness.org. Relationship readiness, that's one word, www.relationshipreadiness.org. My books are there on the website. I also have a podcast. I do a podcast, and it's called Station BOB, which is, my name is Rob, but Roberts are usually Bobby's. So Station BOB, that was like a play on words for WBLS, a famous radio station in New York. But now Station BOB means where you listen to learn how to become the best of your being in life, love, and work. And so I talk about, life, love, and work because I'm also a human resources professional. And so I talk about life issues, how to solve them, and things like that. And
Mhm.
and you can get to my podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. But at Podbean, it's changeagentrtg.podbean.com. And
Okay.
so, but you can see me on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. I want to thank you once again, so much for having me on.
Thank you.
You know,
You've helped us tonight. I tell people these are conversations we need to have more of. And I want to be able to bring people on who are knowledgeable and
mhm,
fluent in things and that are truly able to help. And you're helping clearly a lot of people, and you just reached out to help some more. And
okay.
you're welcome. Just I'll make sure I get this is already gonna be up, but I'll make sure that I have promotional days I'm scheduling because people that are participating, I want people, my goal is also to build a community of people. You shouldn't have to look outside a certain platform to get something else.
Mhm,
You got it. You just showed us 3 books,
mhm,
and these are things that we need. And then when you hear something, I just told a lady earlier, I'm a person. We're all are different. But before you help guide me through something, you need to be done went through it.
mm,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I've always been like that. I can't explain why. That's just who I am because for me the connection is different. My focus is different. So me sitting here to you, I could just keep listening and listening and listening and listening. Like I could just keep plugging and plugging, because when you tap into sharing what it is that you have went through, what you have gone through, and what you are doing and where you are, then you're in my brain, the way my brain operates, those credentials
Mhm.
speaks, those type of credentials speaks so much volumes for me. And you're also reminding us that we got to work on us.
That's the number
We,
one thing. That's the
yeah.
number one.
And
You know,
people killing themselves, stressing over stuff that they can't change.
not only that, everybody's looking outside, you know.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even to be a good Christian, you have to first love yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not, you know, a pastor or anything, but what I'm saying is, just like you can't come to, or you should not come, or you should not come to relationships broken. You if you go to God broken, so to speak, you know, people say that they change, but that's really the change we need is from the inside. You know, um, the other stuff, I don't want to get into it because it'll be, you know, controversial, but I'm just saying the change that we need first is on the inside.
Inside.
And,
And
when you good, then you'll be good for relationships, you'll be good for your children, you'll be good for, you know, in places that you work, you'll be good with your friends, and you'll be even better at church. Okay.
that's
So
right.
but this is where it is, you know, look, you know, look inside.
Yeah. Look inside.
Never mind all, you know, the hair and all that. That's cool. But first, you know, like the song says, this little light of mine, you know, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. When I'm by myself, I'm gonna let it shine. When I'm at school, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
And we have heard it from the best. We don't need anything else to add it. We have heard it tonight from Mr. Robert T. Gardner Jr. We thank you so much for joining in, and I will be in touch. Good night.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Yes, sir, you too.